Richard Williams was a man whose name carried wealth like a loaded crown. Wherever his footsteps landed, silence followed like an obedient servant. He was not just wealthy, he was respected and silently heavy. His words spoke before he did, and his anger vanished conversation before they even began. You are either powerful or irrelevant. Richard's life was simple. His mansion stood like a fortress of pride, filled with expensive painting, polished marble floor that glitter like trap lightning. But inside the grand palace lived a heart slowly turning into stone. His wife, Elizabeth, was the opposite of everything he had become. Soft-spoken, calm, wise, the kind of woman whose word did not shout but sank deep inside fertile seed soil. And their son, Michael, carried a gentle spirit that often irritated his father. Michael believed respect should not depend on wealth. Richard believed respect must be commanded with fear. That was where the war began, without sword, without gun, but with words that slowly built distance between fathers and sons. Richard never believed in limits. He often said, a man without power is like a shadow without light. At his company, workers moved like shadow, afraid of being known. One mistake would erase years of service. Even laughter was controlled. One afternoon, an elderly cleaner mistakenly spilled water near Richard's office. The man immediately dropped to his knees. Sir, forgive me, I beg you. Richard looked at him with cold disgust. Do you know how much this floor cost? And you dare treat it like... The old man trembled. It was an accident, sir. Accidents are for careless people. Richard cut in sharply. And I do not keep careless people. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. As the man was escorted out, one junior worker whispered, a man who refused mercy will not beg for it. But instead of reflection, he felt anger. Who said that? No one answered because fear had already learned how to speak without words. At home, Elizabeth tried again and again to soften his heart. Richard said one evening, wealth is like water in your hands. The tighter you grip pride, the faster it escapes. Richard laughed. He speaks like a woman who has never tasted power. Elizabeth looked at him quietly. Power without kindness is just destruction waiting for permission. Michael listened silently, absorbing every word like rain falling on dry soil. But Richard only said weakness in their wisdom. To him, humility was poverty in disguise. And so the distance in the house grew wider like a river separating two lands that once belonged together. It began quietly. A contract worth millions was delayed. Then another investor withdrawn. Then another Richard dismissed it at all. Some do not touch mountain, he said proudly. But even mountain, though they stand tall and sharp slowly, his business partner began avoiding him. Phone calls reduced, meeting cancelled, laughter in boardroom disappeared when he entered. Still, Richard refused to bow. If they leave, he said they were never strong enough to stand with. But Elizabeth noticed something different. The house no longer felt like palace. It felt like a warning. Michael tried one more. Father, maybe we should review the company structure. Something feels strong. Richard snubbed his son on the table. Are you still speaking like a boy who had never built anything? Michael lowered his head. I am only trying to help. Help? Richard scoffed. Helped me? You who has never faced the world. Silence swallowed the room. Michael stood up slowly. One day, Father, you will realize that the world does not fear wealth. It only respects wisdom. He walked away. Richard did not come back, but those words remained in the air like smoke that refused to disappear. The collapse did not come like that. It comes like dripping water, silent, patient, unstoppable. Bank accounts were flagged. Investor demanded returns. Authority began investigation. Richard Empire, once solid like iron, started showing crack like dry clay under it. He worked day and night trying to fix what was broken. But the harder he pushed, the faster he felt apart. For the first time in years, Richard could not control everything, and that filtered him more than poverty ever could. One evening, Richard sat alone in the office. Long after everyone had left, The building felt emptier than unusual. Even the confidence no longer echoed in the world. Then the final name came. His larger account has been frozen. Legal action has been taken. Assets were under review. Richard stood up slowly. No, this cannot be happening. Not when I'm alive. His voice was no longer thunder. It was trembling. Elizabeth entered quietly. Richard, maybe it is time to listen. He turned sharply. Listen to who? To fear. Elizabeth's eyes were filled with sadness. No truth. But Richard was no longer listening because pride does not bend easily. It breaks loudly. The downfall was shaft like a tree stunk on the road. Poverty ceased, car taking, staff dismissed. His name, once spoken with face, now became a topic of gossip. People who once bowed now walked past without looking back. Richard stood outside his former company building as strangers removed the sign bearing his name. The winds blew dust across his face like nature itself was erasing it. Someone nearby whispered, "That used to be Richard Williams." Another replied, "Used to be." Whose word it harder than bankrupt? Because money can. The mansion was gone. The grand hall replaced a small, quiet apartment. No gas, no staff, no echo of power. Just silence. Richard sat one evening staring at empty hands. I build wisdom, but this hand is weak, sir. Michael sat down alone. And you can only still build something greater, he said gently. Richard looked at him. What would be greater than everything I had? Michael answered. A corrected life. Those words stayed longer than any wealth he has ever owned. Day turns into week. Richard no longer fought reality. He began to observe it. For the first time, he saw people not as twists of obstacles, but as human beings carrying struggle like hidden bodies. He saw kindness where he once saw weakness. He saw wisdom where he once saw foolishness. And slowly, painfully, truth began to settle inside him. One evening, he walked alone and whispered to himself, "My greatest mistake was not losing money. It was losing humility while chasing it." And for the first time in years, he cried not as a powerful man, but as a human being. Richard never returned to his old empire, but he rebuilt something far more fragile and far more valuable. He began mentoring young entrepreneurs, teaching them not to just have money, but how not to lose themselves while making it. Elizabeth watched him with quiet relief. Michael smiled more often now, and Richard, once a man feared by many, became a man understood by few, because he finally learned the truth. Wealth built a life, but humility helps in from collapsing. And so the greatest mistake of Richard Williams became the lesson that solved. Kindly support the channel by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comment section, and subscribing for more inspiring African story and life lesson. Thank you.